Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our May edition of Tips and Tricks, refreshing and organizing your process map system. This is Fred Foster, and I'm joined today by our Tips and Tricks crew, Dawn Charnan, Marjorie Faust, and Karen Safontes. We also have several guest speakers this month, David Perez, Joanna Smith, and Purva Talagankar. This morning, we'll be going over logging into the system, user access reports, employee versus users, roles and permissions, creating groups, the user upload templates, notifications, broadcasts, widgets, calendar, and action items. So let's start with accessing the system. This morning, I'll be going over accessing the system through single sign-on, non-single sign-on, and hybrid configurations. I will also go over running user login reports, running browser detail reports, as well as insight dashboards. Single sign-on is an authentication scheme that allows a user to log in with a single ID to any one of several related yet independent software systems. True single sign-on allows the user to log in once and access services without re-entering authentication factors. When single sign-on is enabled, you will not see a Process Map login page on the web. Instead, you will see your company's network login page, where you will enter your corporate or network login credentials. When single sign-on is enabled on mobile, you will see the Process Map login page, but you will use your corporate or network login credentials here. If single sign-on is not enabled, you will see a Process Map login page on the web. You will enter your Process Map login name and Process Map password here. The same information is entered on the mobile login page. We can also take a hybrid approach to logins. Some customers have a combination of both single sign-on and non-single sign-on logins. This is most common when single sign-on is used for the web, but mobile is not on single sign-on. We also have some customers that may use single sign-on in some countries, and other countries are not on single sign-on. When single sign-on is not in use, you will see a link on the login pages for a user to reset their password. Just click on the Forgot Password link, and instructions for resetting the password will be emailed to you. If we want to see who our most active users are, we're going to go to Setup, System Setup, User Login History. From here, we click Edit to bring up a filter. We can select locations, specific users. We can look at different time periods. We're going to do the current calendar year here. We can also check logins from both desktop or mobile. We will start with desktop and click on Go. We now have a report that will list the usernames, number of times during the period that they logged in, as well as the amount of time that they spent logged in. We can click on Export to create an Excel copy of this report. The same report is available for mobile, so we'll go to Edit and select Mobile. Click on Go. And now we have the statistics for mobile logins. Username, number of logins, and their session time. And of course, you can click on Export to download this into Excel. Another useful report is the Browser Details report. We'll go to Setup, System setup, user browser details. When the report first comes on the screen, you'll notice the drop-down says Browser Summary. This is giving the browser information of the users that are listed here. We can click on a name and we'll see more information about the browser that the user was using, as well as the operating system they're working on. We can change from a browser summary to a system summary. And here we see system information about the users, the operating system, screen resolution, dates, and the version of process map that they're using. We can always go to Edit and change the time period that you're reporting on. From your Insight homepage, select Module Dashboards. This will take you to a dashboard that will list all the modules that your company has. If you select Foundation New, it will take you to a summary page that will show you the number of locations, number of users, number of departments, as well as the number of employees. You can select the different tabs across the top here to look at modules. And on this graph, you're seeing the number of employees or number of users that are using each module. We can go to User Stats and see the number of users with logins, the last login date. You can look at the different users here, as well as the locations to filter even further. We can go to User Logins. This will tell me the number of logins by user, and we have our location listing down the side, so I can select a location to drill down even further. We can look at the number of users by the location, as well as the number of logins by location. So these graphs are a great addition to the different reports that you can also run out of the system. I hope I was able to provide you with helpful information this morning. I'm now going to hand this off to David, who will be discussing employees and users. David?
Thank you, Fred. That was some real good information. With my portion here of my agenda, I would like to discuss employees versus users. I'll give you some information in regards to employee status, a welcome email that has not been sent, permissions and roles, and scope. It is important to understand that everyone in your company can be an employee, but not everyone has to be a user. The scope provides the permissions and access to the locations that have been assigned. Employee records are found under Enterprise Setup. Managing can be performed at the location or the enterprise level. Now, only employees assigned to a specific location are shown under that location's Location Setup menu. System administrators can create or edit those employees' records. User accounts can be created at the corporate or the location level. User accounts created at the location level can only review access to the selected location and can be assigned the Location Administration role. Scope to multiple locations and corporate administrative permissions can only be assigned to users under the Security menu. Now, Employees Record contains the following tabs: Details, Driver Details, employment history. Now, most of the data can be populated manually or via an HRMS feed. Each user record can contain a few more tabs than the employee record, which we can actually get into at this moment. Now let's get into the system demonstration. Now that we're in the system, we'll go ahead and take a look at an employee and take a look at the status. You do that by clicking on the Setup menu, Enterprise Setup, Employees. Currently, I have a test employee sitting here, and we'll take a look. As mentioned, you have tabs up at the top, Details, Driver Details, Employment History. Within this particular profile, you'll see a bunch of asterisks. These are the required items in order to proceed in creating an employee. Again, remember that this can be imported through one of the feeds, usually through an HRMS feed. We'll take a look at the status of this particular employee, showing that this employee is currently active. Now, any changes in this field must require you to click on Save in order to proceed. On the Driver's Details tab, there's driver's license information where you can enter the number, the state in which it was issued, when it was issued, and if there's any expiration dates. On the Employment History tab, you'll actually see that in here, there is a history list of how many times this employee status was changed, by whom, and on what date. Now let's take a look at a user. Let's click on Setup, Security, Users. Here you'll see a user list. Let's find Miss Mickey Mouse. Minnie, sorry. Now, in this user profile, you'll find multiple tabs at the top, as mentioned before. You have Scope, System Permissions, Administration, Application, Permissions, and Manage Groups. Of course, within the Details tab, you also have required pieces of information via these asterisks that are required in order to create this user. As you can see that this particular status of this user is currently is active. To inactivate, choose a date. If the date selected is today's date or in the past, this user will be inactivated immediately. If the date is in the future, the user will be inactivated during that time frame. Now, within the Scope section or tab, this is where you can assign particular locations to the employees. Within the System Permissions, you can give them a system administration role. In the Administration Permission tab, you can provide general administration roles. And in the Applications Permissions, here is where you give the module information or module roles to this particular user. Again, these particular roles are designed to be given by location. Now, if in the Details tab, you see that this employee's Reset Password button is available, that tells you that a welcome email has already been sent. So now let's take another look at a user who has not been sent a welcome email. In this user list, we'll choose Mickey Mouse as an example. You can see here at the bottom that this user has now a button for sending a welcome email. If you click on this button, you will get this pop-up allowing you the option to send a welcome email to this user. Click OK to proceed. At this point, I'll hit cancel. But we are done. Thank you again for your time. And for now, I'll pass it on to Perla, and she'll be able to continue on. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Good morning, everyone. The first topic that I would like to discuss today is an interesting feature in the process map system, which usually gets unnoticed by many. The template user checkbox on the user information screen helps create a predefined template for assigning user scope, user permissions, and groups. For example, when an admin wants to assign multiple users with the same set of roles and permissions, the admin can directly use the template to auto-populate the user roles and permissions rather than individually providing scopes and permissions to one user at a time. This can be time-consuming. Let us see how can we create a template user in the system. After logging in to the process map system, I would go and select the setup at the very left-hand side in the menu. I would then select the security and the users. On the user list screen, select the new button or plus new button on the right-hand side of the screen. The user information screen would then appear as a first dialog box. Here, on the user information screen, check the template user checkbox. The system would then prompt to create a template user with the template user name and provide a template user description. Once you provide with the template user name and the template user description, hit Save button on the very right end. Once the template user name and template user description has been provided, we can proceed to provide the template users with scopes and permissions. We provide them with the scope to the locations, and then we provide them with the system permissions and administrative permissions as well as the application permissions. The application permission, as seen, can be divided into module permissions, report central permissions, and insight permissions. The module permissions have been provided as we can see in the system right now. Once I provide with the module permissions, I go ahead and save it. Further, I proceed to provide the template users with the insight permission. There are two types of insight permissions that are available in the process map system. That is, the consumer permission and the author permission. Only consumer permission is available through the template user feature. The author insight permission can be only provided through an individual user profile, owing to the license validation. So let us go ahead and provide consumer insight permissions for the following template users. Once provided with the permissions, do not forget to press save. Now, once the template has been configured, let us see how is it useful when adding a new user to the system. I would go ahead and add a new user to the system. I would fill in all the user information. After adding the basic user information, I would scroll down and select the Use Template checkbox in the Quick Setup section. The Template User dialog box would allow me to pick the template most recently created, and the Copy Setup dialog box helps us to copy the set of permissions that I would want for the particular user. Supposedly that I want to copy the scope and the application permissions for the particular user, I can do this through the Copy Setup dialog box. So maybe module permissions and insight permissions. I do not wish to copy the administrative permissions and the system permissions, so I can leave them as it is. But for the current example, I would still go ahead and select the system permissions and the administrative permissions. Once I have completed my quick setup section, I go ahead and click Save. Since we selected the predefined template for this particular user, he or she now have all the permission and scope assigned already, and the admin need not assign them individually. For example, if I go to the application permissions, I can see that all my permissions have been pre-assigned, and me being a system admin, I need not go and assign them individually for every other user whom I add. Wasn't this an easy and a time-saving approach for adding a user? Next topic that I would be discussing today is on how to create groups in the process map system. First, let us understand what do we mean by groups or user groups. Well, a set of users clubbed together to perform an action item or a task is called as a group in the process map terminology. Let us see how can we create these groups in the process map system. On your home page, select the setup icon. Under the setup icon, select the security menu item and the groups menu item. The group list view is the default landing page for all of us. Select the Add New button to the right-hand side to add a new group. Add in the group details such as the name and the group status. Make sure the group status is set to active to view the group name on the live side. Then, we can also go ahead and add the group members to the specified group. However, don't forget to save the group once you add the group name. Once you save the group name, select the group members option at the top to add the group members to this particular group. On the group member addition screen, a dialog box would appear to select the members using a location filter and a role filter. However, supposedly if the dialog box does not pop up automatically, select the Edit button right below the group member menu option. Here, you can pick a location filter or a role filter to add the group members. I would go ahead and proceed with a location filter. Once I select the main level and the sub-level of the locations, I can go ahead and select the locations exactly from where do I want my group members to be. So maybe location Cody, and then I would just go ahead and hit select and press go. So all the members who are in these specified locations, that's the location Code and location contact or contact, appear. Then now I can select multiple users or multiple employees or members to be in my group. Once I select the group members, I go ahead and hit save. Please note, groups can be created at the corporate or a location level. However, only groups created under security menu item, like what we are doing right now, can have users from multiple locations. The group created can now be assigned multiple tasks and action items under various modules. All the group members in this specific particular group will be assigned with the same task to be performed. I hope you found this session both informative and valuable. My next topic is about importing users to the system. However, I have a question specifically for all the system admins. Do you guys get bored and exhausted adding one user at a time to the system? I am very sure you might be finding this the most tedious task in the system, especially when you have hundreds of users to load, don't you? We have a tool that will reduce this implementation activity by importing the user data in bulk. It is the user upload template, which helps in reducing the manual intervention, and it is a big time-saving approach. The user import template can be found under the setup icon in the system setup menu in the data management menu item. Once on the data management menu field or the data management screen, click on the manage data import section. Here, you will find a number of data import templates, but let us now talk about the user information template. So I would go ahead and select the user information template, which will download an Excel sheet in my system. The user upload template would look something like what you can see on the screen right now. It is an Excel workbook with 2 Excel sheets. The Excel workbook has multiple mandatory sections which need to be completed. The workbook also has a field specification sheet which will provide with the information about every column in the user profile template. The field specification sheet can be used as an instruction guide for filling out the user upload template. When the system administrator configures all the location levels as well as the templates, the entire user profile template gets preloaded with all the locations. As you can see, here is the drop down with all the preloaded locations for the given system. So you can see the template users are also preloaded in the system as we had configured in the system before downloading the template. Once the system admin has completely filled the user profile template with all the system permissions and the user information, they can go ahead and save this user profile template according to their naming conveniences. After completing and saving the user profile template or the Excel sheet, you will come back to the Manage Data Import section and upload the template using the Import tool. So here, you select the Import button and import the Excel sheet that you have already saved with the user information. Click on the Browse button and select the user profile import template, which you might have saved in your computer, and open it. And then just click on the Import from File. A dialog box will appear saying that the file has been successfully uploaded and proceed to mapping data. Click OK and proceed to data mapping and validation. Here on the data mapping and validation screen, you can see that my information is not processed. If my information was filled completely and properly, my processing status would have been can be processed. But right now, you can see that it shows me the errors which are there in my data, and that is the reason it is not uploading my user information to the system. So now, here, we can directly correct our errors by simply selecting the level 0, like supposedly my error says that level 0 data mandatory. I can simply edit my level 0 and edit my location code directly from this screen. Once I have corrected my error, that is adding my level 0 and my location code, you can see that the status has changed from cannot be processed to can be processed. Once the status changes and it's a green go, I can go ahead and import the data. You will see that a dialog box will appear saying that your request is being processed and you will be informed about the status once it's completed by mail. The reason being that whenever we use the import template, the data takes 24-hour cycle to get uploaded to the system. So right now, the user information that I have uploaded is going to get uploaded to the system by tomorrow, the same time. Thank you for attending the session, and I hope you all found it valuable. And now, off to Karen. Thank you.
Thank you, Purva. Great information and very useful. I think a lot of us, if not everyone, can totally forget how to create those template users, and they save us so much time. So I really do believe that it's an underused tool that we have here at Process Map. Okay, so now continuing with our theme in spring cleaning, when we first start to use our platform, a lot of us, if not all, we go through a phase of trial and error where we create a lot of notifications, and some of them become redundant or even become obsolete with time. So today I want to go ahead and dive deep into notifications, and I want to cover one, how to create notifications, just to go back to basics, but I'm also going to be covering how to inactivate them, and also how to identify the difference between notifications that were created at an enterprise level versus notifications that were created for location levels. All right, so let's dive deep into our live demo. So give me a second when we go into our live site. Okay, so now that we're in our landing page, the very first thing I want to point out is that I am going to be covering notifications that affect us at a level or at an enterprise level. So how do we know? For example, just to go back to basics, we know that when we are in a pin drop, our pin drop is is what we call a location, and a house is what we call a level. A level is the uppermost node, and pin drops can roll up into the level. Okay. So now bringing us back to what we were going to cover, notifications. Some notifications are going to affect you at an enterprise level, and some of them are going to affect you at a location level. So let's go ahead and let's navigate back into how to identify those notifications that have been set up by location. In order to set up those notifications, you first need to see that whatever location you have selected here, there is exactly where you're going to be entering those notifications. So let's cover those level notifications originally. So the way you're going to navigate there is by going to setup, location setup, and then you're going to go ahead and select module setup. And when you select module setup, you're going to see the different location setup options that you have. And for which modules, incident management, we do have the capability of entering workshops that are going to be affected only at the location level, management review that is going to be affected only at the location level. We're also going to have those hospital and clinics that you're entering. They're going to be only by location. The same goes for different modules. As you can see here, you're going to be able to identify those items that you're going to be able to be very granular at the location level, such as vehicle information, this investigation responsibilities. But for purposes of this information that I am going to be covering, it's going to be our notifications. So let's go ahead and click on notifications. And when you enter here, you're going to see that we have a list of notifications that have been created. Obviously, and sometimes some of these notifications may become redundant. They might be creating way too much emails coming to you every morning, and you might want to just trim down on that, be a little bit more strategic as to the notifications that are going to your supervisors or to even your upper management. Maybe they've been receiving way too many communications and it's almost getting lost in between the chaos. So to be a little bit more strategic, you sometimes may want to minimize those notifications that you're receiving, and you want to go ahead and edit them. So I want to point out that once you've created them, you do have the capabilities, depending on your permissions, to go ahead and inactivate them. So how you're going to create that is that you can go directly into your notification. And if you see here in the top, you're going to have the option of changing the status of that notification. And just by clicking this caret down, you can quickly make that notification inactive. You're going to go ahead and hit save. And the status of that notification has now changed to inactive. Now, when you create something to be inactive, it means that maybe in the future, you may want to bring back this notification, make it active again, because maybe some people come back to you and say, hey, remember that notification? I really enjoyed it, or I really want that back. So you may keep it inactive at the beginning, but if several months go by, you really don't need this notification, just to keep things clean and clear, I will suggest that you guys can come back and delete them if you no longer need them, in order to keep this nice and clean, and every notification that you have here being one of those that are extremely useful. Okay, so these notifications are going to be, once again, for a particular location. Now, let's say you wanted to do the exact same thing, go and do spring cleaning in the notifications that were created in the enterprise level. I'm going to go ahead and show you how you can navigate there right now. So you're going to go to setup. You're going to go ahead and select module setup. For this particular demonstration, we're going to select incident management. We're going to go ahead and navigate to our notifications. And you're going to see there's a list of notifications that's completely different than what we just viewed. And that's because all of these notifications are in an enterprise level, which means that it's module wide, regardless of the location. These notifications are going to go ahead and go out for every location. So the best utilization of these notifications usually is for your upper management, people who are in charge of all or multiple locations at the same time, your system admins or your VPs, people who really need to get notified immediately. In the exact same way that we went ahead and made a notification inactive at the level type of notification, the exact same way is how you're going to do this here in the enterprise level, which is just by pressing inactive, hitting save, and that notification has successfully been changed. And as you can see here, the status has become inactive. In order to delete the notification, all you have to do is select delete. And this confirming is going to come out asking you, are you sure you want to continue with deleting the notification? You're going to hit OK. And that notification has now been deleted. I also want to point out that if you have new notifications that you want to go ahead and create, all you have to do is press new, give it your selected name. You can activate them immediately, or you can wait to ensure that you get everything correct if you want to show a supervisor. And I want to point out that the way these notifications work, they work on a straight line. So for example, for this initial checkpoint, if I wanted to go ahead and select this notification, it's going to give me the option of creating them. I'm going to go by selecting all my options. And the only option I have here is for daily notifications. So I'm going to go ahead and select. And you're going to see that that is now picked. If I was to go ahead and hit save, the notification that I just created will appear here as inactive. And it's just as easy as me going in there, making it active, and my notification will now be ready for using. So here you have it, test and active. Okay, so that concludes for now my notifications demonstration and the difference between notifications at a location level and an enterprise level. And now I'm going to go ahead and give it to Joanna, who is going to be covering very useful information.
Thank you, Karen. Hello, everyone. I am very excited to show you some features and functionalities available to you from the Foundation module, starting with the System Broadcast tool. The Broadcast tool allows users to share corporate updates, links, events, and news from within the organization to the workforce. This will be shared and displayed on the user's landing page, as well as can be done via email. Corporate broadcast can be configured at the corporate level or at the location level with ease. For this example, we are looking at the corporate level that can be navigated by going to Setup, System Setup, Broadcast. From here, you can see the list of broadcasts that has been created, or you can create your own broadcast by clicking on the blue button marked New. Here we can see a broadcast created for a particular location to share local news, updates, and events. The example here is from one of our field service customers. They have utilized the functionality of the location broadcast for sharing weather warnings for those affected locations, safety flashes, and updates related to the daylight savings time. This is the Process Map landing page or homepage, another great feature that I would like to share. From here, you can navigate to any part of the system that you have a scope and permissions to access. The landing page can be configured to suit individuals' personas based on the particular information and widgets that are relevant and crucial to the user's roles and positions. As you can see, with the most recent enhancements with the facelift, the landing page really pops. Here is an example of the Incident Management Focus Dashboard. You see you have the body chart diagram complemented with the incident rate widget. The look is outstanding, isn't it? To continue with the widgets, widgets technically are a small application that are represented in either pictorial or graphical or in a list of format that gives out a specific set of data perform a specific function. You can see from this example that the type of graph and the filters can be changed from within the widgets itself. Ideally, they allow users to access the information that is available in the application by the click of a button, therefore reducing the need to navigate directly from the application. In the Process Map homepage, widgets can be found on the landing page. These widgets can be adjusted, added, or removed depending on the necessity and flexibility. In the home page, can be navigated by clicking on the Edit Layout button. Once you are on the Edit Layout screen, you will select Add Widget. The pop-up will appear and you will have the ability to search in the text field or scroll by section which house the different widgets for each subscribed module. Next, you will select the desired widget by clicking Add Widget, and it will automatically be added to our landing page. A small pop-up should appear confirming your selection. Keep in mind, in the Edit Layout page, you can drag and drop the widget to a desired spot to further customization. Finally, to save your layout and added widget, click on the Save As to save in the top right-hand corner. As well as the broadcast, landing page, and widgets, another great feature I found love to share is the user browser details. The purpose of this is to aid the system administrator when having to troubleshoot issues that are created by using the incorrect browser. For example, Firefox or Microsoft Old Edge browser. This feature can quickly identify and prevent the incorrect browser from being used, thus ensuring the correct browser is used for the most efficient customer experience with the system. And now we'll hand this over to Karen, who will be speaking on calendar and orphan action items. Karen?
Thank you, Joanna. I truly love the broadcast tool and how you can communicate with your whole team with a simple click, and you can send those notifications via group, location, or an enterprise, and you can broadcast all that information that is very useful for the company for news and events. For now, continuing with our cleanup, I wanted to go ahead and cover the different processes that you can do to keep your tasks, your alerts, and your reminders up to date and very clean. I'm going to be doing a mini review of our calendar, how we can transfer ownership, what kind of transfers you can do, how you can close those action items depending on your permissions, but most importantly, how to identify those orphan action items out there that really don't have anybody assigned to them. So let's go into our live demo and let's review it together. Okay, so once again, here we are in our landing page, and I'm going to be doing, I promise you guys, a mini quick review of our calendar. So let's quickly navigate there. As you all know, there's several ways you can get there into our calendar. We have our module icons. We also have our module group where you can easily navigate to the calendar. And third, but definitely not least, and my favorite way of getting there, this in the top right hand corner of your screen, you have a mini calendar which will navigate you there. All of them taking you to the exact same spot. So when you originally come in here, I want to point out that towards the left of your screen, you're going to notice that you have a menu that has an upper node, and you're going to see with the little plus side buttons, you're able to expand and really filter the action items or the events that you're actually looking at. You can be granular in the sense that you're able to go ahead and really filter those action items by modules. So let's say if you only wanted to see action items that had to do with your apps, or you had to do with OPM, or had to do with environmental, you can go ahead and just select that, and your action items will be filtered based on whatever you selected. But for purposes of today, I'm going to go ahead and click the upper node, and I want to see all of my action items that we're currently working with today. Next, you're going to see here in the upper ribbon, you're going to know you have your breadcrumbs, and you know exactly where you are. You know that you're in modules, calendar, and you're currently managing your action items. Second, in your second ribbon right here, you're going to see that you have three kinds of views. For me, the list view is usually my favorite because I'm able to see my statuses. I'm able to change my view by clicking in my caret here, and I'm able to see by dates, by months. I can change and create those personalized views. All things that we can go into deep further. If you want more information on that, please go ahead and contact your customer success manager, and she or he can give you a detailed information on how to create those personalized views for yourself. Also, I wanted to point out that in this list view, you also have the capability of searching. So all this grid system serves perfect for filtering and identifying those action items that you might be interested in finding. And when you no longer need it, if by just clicking search, you're going to see that's going to go ahead and disappear. So your list view is very useful, very easy to work with. But there's also something that I want to point out, that you also have the snapshot view, which is very underused and very undermined, but I love it because what this view will do is that it's going to go ahead and group all your action items by modules. It's going to group them by open action items, by completed, by closed, total action items that you have by module, how, overdue, within 30 days, past the 30 days. So very, very easy to identify those past due action items that need immediate attention. And if you have the capabilities of seeing not only yours, but everybody else's action items, including yours, this is going to be a great tool. So supervisors, keep a close eye at this snapshot view. And the last view is your calendar. This is very similar to what we're used to on our phones and our home desktops and our Outlooks and our Google Calendar. Very similar because it will have the dates, and you can easily, by clicking on those blue letters, these are hyperlinks that you can quickly navigate to those action items, and depending on the status flags, you're going to know whether they're open or they're past due. You also have the option of changing by weeks by using these arrows. But if you're like me and you like to see everything a little bit more bird's eye view, you're going to go ahead and you can click, and instead of seeing a week, you can go ahead and see a day or a month. And I like to see the month because I like to see everything at once. But this is a view that you can quickly identify things and keep yourself very organized when things are due. And visuals are very helpful sometimes rather than just having your grid view. Okay, so then from here, you also have the capabilities of seeing yours or everyone's action items depending on your permissions. So now I'm going to go ahead and really navigate back to our list view, because this is the view that we're going to be drilling a little bit further in, because this is why I am doing my spring cleaning right now, and I wanted to go ahead and just give us a quick view as to all those things that we can do to quickly identify those action items that might need immediate attention. So we all know that when we're in this page in our calendar, we're able to create those ad hoc action items that don't have to be necessarily associated with a module or associated with a particular report that you're working in, depending on the different modules. This could be ad hoc, and you can create those action items by just pressing the new button right here. But what we haven't really covered a lot is that now you can, depending on your permissions, you can also go and delete those action items that are really not no longer relevant, and you can delete them by just pressing this red button that's right here, clicking delete. You are going to have a double confirmation ensuring that deleting of that action item is something you really want to do. So you're going to go ahead and press OK or cancel. I really don't want to delete this action item right now, so I'm going to go ahead and press cancel. But if that was the case, if you press OK, that action item will be deleted. Okay, so we're going to go into our transfer action items so that together we can see how it looks. So we have selected action items, all filter action items, and owner base transfer. So let's go ahead and select a couple. So let's go ahead and say selected action item. And you're going to see here that that action item that you select is going to tell you this type of action item. We may be able to say that it was selected by Alex. You're going to go ahead and assign, and we're going to select him as a person that this is going to be selected for. It's going to be, we're reassigning that particular action item that we picked. We're transferring it to him. We also have the capabilities of being able to select it to multiple people, not just one person. You also know that by pressing the double arrows, you're going to select everyone or deselect everyone. So now you're going to go ahead and say replace existing owner or append to existing ownership. So depending on what you want to do, this is what you're going to select. So we're going to go ahead and select replace existing owner. You're going to go ahead and give a reason. This is going to be a mandatory field. Anything that has those little stars, we know that those are fields that we must complete. You're going to go ahead and assign by, and you're going to have a date. So you're going to go ahead and hit save. We're going to say, okay, we're proceeding with the transfer. And that action item now has changed to a me. As you can see, this was extremely easy and very fast and useful. Okay, so now let's go ahead and go and select our second option of transferring. We're going to have here all filter action items. This will allow ownership to be switched by filter action items. So something before I proceed to go forward with this action, I want to point out that if there's anything closed in your filter, this is not going to work. So you're going to want to go ahead and hit select search, and it's going to open up these boxes like I mentioned earlier, and you're going to be able to just go ahead and say, I would like to see all close, all open action items. That way that filter is ready, and you're only going to go ahead and see open action items, and that works for you. So let's go ahead and hit transfer, all filter action items. And then it's going to bring up all open action items that you have currently filtered, and they're all going to be assigned at one time. And it's going to be very similar to what you did earlier today, where you're able to select a specific person that you want to go ahead and select those action items to. You can select multiple people. You can go ahead and say replace existing, give them a reason why you're actually transferring this action item, who did this, and when did this happen. and all those action items are going to go ahead and switch. So that's very good in case you're trying to do a massive search. So you want to say all the action items that are for a particular person, I want to go ahead and transfer them to this other person. You can be very granular into what you're doing because those filters will allow you to do that. So remember that you can go ahead and activate those filters by just hitting right here, edit. And when you have those filters, you can be very specific as to what you're seeing, whether it's the last 6 months, specific columns that you're viewing. And right here, when you're actually entering those filters, like I can specifically search for anything that says Dave. And it's going to go ahead and filter all of that for me. I can say Dave, and Dave that had open action items, I will go ahead and transfer all filter action items. And that is what's going to get transferred. Okay, so in this situation, let's pretend Dave got promoted and I want to give all of Dave's action items. I want to give them to Alex. I will go ahead and hit that movement. I will go ahead and hit save after I gave my reasons, and all those action items will now appear under that person. So let's go ahead and just test that out. It's going to once again give you the confirmation that you're sure you want to proceed. It's going to tell you the amount of action items that is went ahead and transferred. And now our filters are still under Dave, so nothing is there anymore. All right, so if we remove the word Dave, you're going to see that all those action items have been transferred. And I want to point out something very key here, that every single time an action item has been transferred from one person to another, you're going to see this little icon right here with 2 people. And if you hover over the icon is actually going to tell you that this action item was transferred, and it's going to give you details if you were to go ahead and click it. It's going to tell you who was it transferred from, who was it transferred to, the reason it was transferred, and who did the transfer. So very good for tracking purposes and knowing exactly what happened to those action items. Okay, so now we have together cover how we're going to go ahead and delete action items, how we create ad hoc action items. And we are now looking into the one that I believe is very important to be able to use, is how to find those orphan action items. So we already know Dave got transferred, Dave got promoted, and he now is not been deactivated because he's not even going to be using Process Map Site right now as a user. He's only going to be listed as an employee. And earlier we learned the difference between employees and users. So he's going to be an employee, but he's no longer going to be a user. So what's going to happen to all those action items that he is assigned to? So we went ahead and we did an excellent job by transferring all his open action items. But what happens with the overdue? So now that we have inactivated his license, right, and I can go ahead and really quickly search with you how we can go see that his user doesn't even exist anymore. So we're going to say Dave Test is who we're looking for. So there's nobody named Dave Test. So when we go ahead and search for orphan action items, that's exactly what's going to happen. So let's navigate back to our calendar. And so here we are, we're going to ask our platform to go ahead and identify all those action items that are considered orphan. Okay, so once again, it found all of the test orphan action items that now he doesn't have a user anymore and they are overdue. So what you are able to do here is that since you have this filter with all of the orphan action items, at this point, you can now go ahead and hit filter action items to be transferred out. And once again, you're able to go ahead and just transfer them all at once. So I hope this information, you found it extremely useful. I think it's one of the best tools and very underused. Please go ahead, and if you have any questions regarding about this, you can go ahead and let us know, and we'll be more than happy to go ahead and clarify any questions that you may have, or talk to your CSM, use your chat box right now, and we can go ahead and help you. Okay, so that concludes this month's tips and tricks. Thank you again for joining us. I also want to take this time and opportunity to thank David, Joanna, and Purva for presenting in this month and bringing such great information. Please remember that if you have any questions, we're here and we're going to be able to answer those questions. Just enter them into the chat box. We're going to be staying on for a little bit longer in order to make sure that we addressed all your questions. I want to point out also, should you want any additional training on anything that we covered today, please go ahead and reach out to your customer success manager. He or she will be able to provide you additional help or additional information as to what you may need. And lastly, I want to remind you that our next tips and tricks will take place on June 29th, on the last Wednesday of every month at the same time and same place. Please go ahead and register. We will be adding that registration link into our Confluence page, or your customer success manager will be sharing it with you during your checkpoint calls. Thank you once again. Until next month, your Tips and Tricks crew.